Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. We are now about a week removed from the NFL draft. We are now going to see kind of how the offensive dominoes fell in the NFL draft. Extremely heavy first-round wide receivers, and apparently nobody liked Malik Willis as much as the fantasy community, because he had to fall all the way to the third, behind Desmond Ridder, to the Tennessee Titans. Running backs, we assumed, went in the second round. Again, a lot of first-round wide receivers. No big tight end news, but there are a couple guys that were drafted with some reasonable capital that could put a potential scare. We'll touch on the tight ends a little bit. But joining us is Steve Lawson, one of our writers. He'll be joining us for the show. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zolo. Joining me, as always, top left, Joshua Hudson. Bottom right, Ryan Weiss. And for the second straight week, when was Steve was on with us on the draft show, so for the second straight week, Steve Lawson. Steve, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you. That intro is wild. I think that's the first time I've really watched it. That was awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. Shout out Motion Array, my best friend in motion graphics. That's one of my favorite things we've created. So yeah, we'll start off with Albert, one of our long time listeners. Albert, good evening, my friend. Of course, Faith, always in here as always, and Jesus, holy swag, Ryan.
Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
Lando Calrissian. Let's do the damn thing.
Yeah. I asked Ryan why he had Childish Gambino on his head,
which is a perfect question.
Yes. So I love it. I figured it was tied to the shirt in some way, but I'm just a big fan of.
I have a Lando shirt too, but I don't know if we could handle all of that on just
all the Lando
small screen. So
all the Lando, yeah, that's too much. Okay, what a draft! I have to say the first round was. I feel more outside of that, beginning teens, fairly uneventful for fantasy football. I would say that, the start of the teens and I would say the back half of the single digits, specifically starting at 8 with Drake London. It was relatively boring for people that don't play IDP. So,
yes.
Because IDP people were, wondering what the hell was happening with Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis.
Oh, he's got a great new home now.
Yeah, yeah. And now Jordan Davis goes to the Eagles. Kyle Hamilton falls to the Ravens. I mean, a lot of big IDP moves. 5 or 6 legitimate fantasy moves, at least for this upcoming season. Obviously, in Dynasty, that is going to play over the next few years. But let's start with the most important position in football that got drafted once in the first round.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks. So I'm going to list off I believe, 6 or 7 we have listed here. Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback off the board. It was either him or Malik Willis that a lot of people had pegged, and a lot of people that said Kenny Pickett they said he was the most pro-ready. That clearly showed in what NFL teams were thinking, because no quarterback was even taken within 60 picks of him. It was a long time until Desmond Ridder was taken in the third round by Atlanta. But Kenny Pickett, 20th overall to Pittsburgh. Ridder, Malik Willis, and Matt Corral all went in the third. Ridder to Atlanta, Malik Willis to Tennessee, and Matt Corral to the Carolina Panthers. Bayley Zapp from Western Kentucky, supposedly
the quarter.
Yeah, supposedly the quarterback nobody was talking about. He had 62 passing touchdowns last season. Apparently, he put up ridiculous stats. It's Western Kentucky, but he put up ridiculous stats in the 4th round to the New England Patriots. Sam Howell, who people had pegged in the first round, and someone who we had on our show that had him as his number 1 quarterback, goes in the fifth. In all reality, Sam Howell could start 7 games this season. That's not even a joke. And then Carson Strong signed, I believe, the biggest undrafted free agent contract ever to the Philadelphia Eagles. So a guy that when we had Kevin on, correct, for a quarterback show.
Yes.
He had talked about Carson Strong as, take away the injury history, he might be one of the most skilled quarterbacks in this class. And obviously the injury history is pretty significant with Carson Strong, but it showed the faith that I guess Philly had in him by giving him the largest undrafted free agent contract in NFL history. Let's start with Kenny Pickett. Steve, you said in the pre-show that you had a bet with Buffalo Wild Wings that Deontay Johnson would finish top 15.
Yeah.
So for Kenny Pickett to go to Pittsburgh, I feel like a lot of us are going to assume Mitch Trubisky probably starts the first half of the season, and then Pickett probably picks up the second half, if not even sooner, because we all know what Mitchell Trubisky is. At least for the future, maybe not this season, or at least the back half of season 1 for Kenny Pickett. How do you see him fitting into Pittsburgh, and how do you like his upside mixed in with Deontay Johnson? Does it kind of stay the same, higher or lower? And then I'll jump to Josh.
As far as Deontay Johnson goes, I don't think it matters who's really throwing him the ball. I mean, he had the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger last year throwing him passes, and he did just fine. He's one of those wide receivers, one of the few in the NFL that's quarterback proof. Kenny Pickett was not the guy I wanted Pittsburgh to go get. I wanted them to go get Malik Willis. I thought Malik Willis realistically was the number 1 quarterback in this draft. And I'm not going off of like hand size or anything like that, because I've never seen anything that shows that actually matters. The kid played in Pittsburgh, so he knows how cold it gets there, and he'll just Teddy Two Gloves it, right? Like, I mean, we've seen it work, and it's fine.
Teddy Two Gloves.
So, I mean, I don't hate the Kenny Pickett signing. He could be fine, but that's all he'll ever be. Is he'll be fine.
Okay, Josh.
I mean, they basically signed Mitchell Trubisky in free agency and then drafted Mitchell Trubisky 2.0. Like, apparently they have a theme going here. I mean, I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think it's kind of a lateral move, and it's really not going to help them recapture the magic of Big Ben, I guess you could call it. But let's be honest. The only thing Kenny Pickett has to do is not fuck it up. They're going to play good defense. Yep. They're going to run the football. Don't make mistakes and get the ball in Deontay Johnson's hands. It's that simple.
That's where I slightly disagree, unless they plan on very much changing their offensive system, because even with a very washed Ben Roethlisberger, they were over 650 pass attempts and one of the league leaders in pass attempts every damn year. So I am legitimately worried that if one of these quarterbacks can't be better than mediocre, it is going to hurt them as a team, unless they plan on a complete offensive change. Also, not a big fan of Pickett, but I was a Desmond Ridder guy. So obviously, I mean, I believe in the NFL, and obviously you can bring up they got it horribly wrong with quarterbacks in the past, specifically Tom Brady, but the pick gap between these quarterbacks is obscene, and it's not like there weren't teams that could have taken them. So that just worries me very much for Willis and Ridder. And then to take it another step, I was not a fan of Corral, and for Willis and Ridder to go so close to him in the draft makes it even more worrisome. So Corral, I feel like, went where he should have went. I just didn't expect Willis and Ridder to fall in that same range.
So I think I'm not worried at all with Ridder in his draft capital, because we all know Atlanta is not exactly in win now mode. They are definitely rebuilding. So I think for Ridder to learn behind Mariota, that makes perfect sense. I am not worried about Desmond Ridder and his future as an Atlanta Falcon. I'm not worried about that at all.
I love it.
Malik Willis, apparently he doesn't have a mentor. So that hurts.
Which is the best. No, that is for Ryan Tannehill to be like, I'm not going to poorly rub off on Malik Willis, is the best way to start his career.
Again, also fair. I'm not worried about Malik Willis, I think his development is not going to be as good. I don't think Vrabel as his head coach is going going to be good for his development as a quarterback, but I could be very wrong on that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how far Tannehill fell off the moment Arthur Smith left, so that really doesn't bode well for Willis's development, period.
And that bodes well for Desmond Ridder. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say, I'd love to see them, if Tannehill wants to go out there and compete, let him. I'd love to see them bring in a veteran to work with Willis and carry 3 quarterbacks this season.
Cam Newton? I'm just kidding.
If he would, I just don't know if that's his move. So
no,
that's another guy where if he's like, "I'll mentor you," Willis should very politely but firmly be like, "No, thank you." That's just no.
Hold on. So I, as much crap as I give Cam Newton,
I say peak Cam Newton was nice.
And here's a question, because I saw this on Twitter today. I saw in my curated feed. It said Hutchinson Brown liked this photo, and I wanted to bring this up because I feel this is a great little discussion topic. Top or bottom trio in their prime. The top is Lamar Jackson, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill. The bottom, Cam Newton, Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham Jr. Who would you rather have in their prime of those trios? Again, I'll say it once more. Lamar, Nick Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Cam Newton, Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham Jr., Steve.
Top. And honestly, I looked at it, and my immediate reaction was, I'll take the top guys. I don't think. All right, I could see Ryan looking at me like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because, frankly, Lamar Jackson's more dominant right now than Cam Newton was.
Oh, you are
not even close.
Remembering Cam
Newton. I'm not. I recognize that that's a crazy, like that may be blasphemous, but it's true. Cam Newton never went for 1,000 yards. Cam Newton never had the touchdown interception ratio that Lamar has.
My apologies. We're talking fantasy here, right?
I'm talking real life football, and to me,
that's
it's
what I was
not
under the
even.
impression.
It's not even close. It's not even close. It's the bottom. 2015.
No way.
Cam Newton is the best running quarterback of all time behind Michael Vick. It's not even close.
He's the third best behind Lamar Jackson, then Michael Vick.
Who's been in the league 3 years and was injured half of last season, didn't play half his rookie season. Sure, yeah, 100%. He's won a single playoff game with 1 passing touchdown in that fucking playoff game. Cam Newton could actually throw the football before his shoulder surgery. Le'Veon Bell is the human off button. It was ridiculous. And Odell Beckham has the greatest catch in NFL history, and it's not even close.
But we can't go off of a catch. Who's going to guard Tyreek Hill, like prime Tyreek Hill? No one was doing that.
Who could guard prime Odell Beckham? What are we talking about here?
Odell Beckham's prime lasted 15 minutes. By the time the first quarter was over, the first quarter would end, and that prime would be over. That entire team had a prime of about a quarter.
He probably would be kicked off the field after the first quarter.
I mean, the question isn't, in their prime, how long it will last. It just says in their prime. If their prime was that spectacular for 15 minutes, it really doesn't matter. As great as Nick Chubb is, he doesn't contribute in the receiving game the same way Le'Veon Bell does.
That's what I was going to say. Now, I guess I look at everything in fantasy because all I care about is fantasy. Lev Bell to Nick Chubb in prime fantasy, there's no
not even
comparison.
close.
It's not even close, but Nick Chubb can more than replicate Le'Veon Bell's 4.0 yards per carry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, but he can't replicate the 89 receptions that Le'Veon Bell has.
Yeah, but Le'Veon Bell, he was a great fantasy asset, but it just was a volume thing. He just kind of ran the ball a billion times and caught the ball a billion times and got good numbers out of it. We saw what happened when he didn't get that kind of volume. He just fell off a cliff. He didn't turn into a different player.
That wasn't his prime.
Yeah, he was the same player. But when you have an elite offensive line in front of you, like you had in Pittsburgh, you could come to
Nick Chubb has.
Right, but you could come. Le'Veon Bell comes to a full and complete stop to run the ball. Le'Veon Bell was never the best running back in football. He was the most used running back in football.
In the past, if you count the passing game for a couple years, he was the best running back in football because of what he could bring on the other aspect of the field. If we're looking for pure runner, Nick Chubb is a better pure runner. Nick Chubb might be the best pure runner in the NFL right now.
I'm not dumping a ball off when I got Tyreek Hill burning your cornerback.
I just want to point out in Cam Newton in 3 seasons has more rushing touch. Actually, in 4 of Cam Newton's seasons, he has more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson has ever had as a Raven. And it's not even close. He had 14 his rookie season. He had 10 in his MVP 2015 season. He had 12 in that dog shit season he played in New England, and he had 8 in his second year.
Something
Right,
else.
but just because he's bigger, yes, but the electricity that Lamar Jackson brings to the field, like, run against the Bengals, Cam Newton could never dream of doing what Lamar Jackson could do on a football field, both throwing and running. He could never dream it.
Are we really sure about the throwing aspect?
You know what? I'm right there saying it. I am on record. I'm on your show saying it. Lamar Jackson is a top 10 passer in the NFL.
Lamar Jackson might not even crack the top 30. I'm
there.
Are we serious right now?
I'm serious.
Am I being punked? He's never had anything higher than a 66% completion percentage. That's
think Tom
awful.
Brady's had much higher than that either.
Who?
Brady.
Yes, he has.
Not much.
What?
What was Brady's completion percentage this year?
What was I'm gonna look it up for you right now. Tom Brady's completion percentage in 2021. Completion percentage 67.5, which was 3% higher than Lamar Jackson.
And then he's had 66, 65, 67, 68 one year. Brady's all over the place, but then we're also talking sheer volume. When you're throwing 350 passes or whatever Lamar Jackson threw, you would want a higher passer.
I think it's a scheme thing, personally. I still think Lamar Jackson's an elite thrower of the football.
But what I'm getting at is if you're only throwing the ball 350 to 400 times and you're only completing 64% of your passes, you're never going to crack even 250 completions. Whereas Brady, on a 63% completion percentage, that's 300 completions just because of the sheer volume of him throwing the ball.
Now we're just comparing bullshit here. Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady.
Yeah, I don't know why we're even
not a comparison.
They're not even in the same fucking school
Cam
district.
Newton also was a poor completion percentage guy. Struggled to crack
Very poor,
60%.
yeah.
Struggled
Until
to crack
Norv Turner got there, he didn't complete anything.
And he still had more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, and
Because he
overall
threw
more
more.
fantasy points. So
because he threw more.
Okay, hold on. We need to move on, but I want to throw this at you now, Steve. You tell me who Lamar Jackson is a better thrower than here. Josh Allen.
No.
Justin Herbert.
Nope.
Tom Brady.
Nope.
Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
Matt Stafford.
Yep.
that's not even a hesitation. That's
Dak
not,
Prescott. Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Joe Burrow.
No.
Kyler Murray.
Yes.
That's fair.
Russell Wilson.
Yes.
No.
Interesting. I disagree.
Have you
with
seen
every one of
Russell
those.
Wilson's
No.
deep ball?
I've seen Russell Wilson's deep ball. I've also watched Russell Wilson be really good for 8 games and then take a vacation for the rest of the season.
But that's Lamar Jackson throwing the football every season.
Russell Wilson makes my
Russell
pants a
Wilson's
little
deep
tighter
ball.
every time he throws it.
Russell Wilson's deep ball is better than
Anyone's deep ball in the NFL.
anyone's deep ball in the NFL. It's the rest of the throws that he just isn't great at.
I mean, here's the thing. I like Lamar Jackson, so I don't feel good just sitting here shitting on him, but he's not a top 10 thrower in the NFL. He is a great quarterback, though. Let's move on.
He's a great running back that sometimes throws the football, which is why his team is last in overall
I won't go
passing
that
attempts.
far because I'm not a prick. So
No, I am a prick, and I can say
you
that.
are, yeah.
Running backs.
I want Lamar to see this show and know I'm a supporter.
There you go.
Great. Listen, I hope Lamar turns into a top 10 passer and James Prochet becomes his wide receiver too. That would make my fucking day. That'd be amazing. Not going to happen. Lamar will never even sniff a Super Bowl because he's not that good of a quarterback. So
I just want to say this comment section on YouTube is cracking.
Electric.
Destroying us right now.
electric.
I don't think we've ever had a more toxic comment section.
I love it.
wish I could
Make
see
it more toxic. Make it more toxic. And quickly, as my buddy Will puts in here, he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Will, we touched on this quickly. I think to Steve, it's a lateral move. I believe to Ryan and Josh, it's also a lateral move. To me, it's harder to get worse than Mitch Trubisky. So, it was need for Pittsburgh.
I'm hoping Trubisky grew up under Dable and Allen over the last 2 seasons. So,
I'm okay with it. I don't mind Kenny Pickett. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the Lord and Savior of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I don't mind the pick. Hopefully they can
he has the
develop
draft
him.
capital. So
Exactly. Okay, running backs. My magic 8-ball prediction came true. Breece Hall was drafted by the New York Jets.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to Michael Carter. So, as expected, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, first 2 guys off the board.
Yep.
And maybe not to Seattle anymore if you believe in Rashad Penny and his health, but to 2 teams that needed a running back, the Jets. And I mean, we were screaming at Seattle for not taking Jonathan Taylor 3 years ago.
This is not the worst consolation prize in the world, but it's not the right pick out of the 2, but it's not the worst consolation.
Yeah, of course. Following that, you have James Cook, who went to Buffalo. Little to no competition there. Rashad White went to Tampa Bay. Tyrion Davis-Prince went to San Francisco. So look for him in
destroyed that man's name, Tyrion Davis-Price.
Whatever. All you need to know is look for him in weeks 10 through 13 when San Francisco doesn't have a running back, and it's him.
I feel like that dude was massively overdrafted.
Yeah,
one team
Massively.
You're talking to a Patriots fan. A lot of people were massively overdrafted. So, Brian Robinson Jr. goes to Washington. The bruiser compliment to Antonio Gibson, I guess. Damian Pierce goes to Houston. Zamir White goes to the Raiders. Presumably, I believe they didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs, so this is probably the replacement for him. Isaiah Spiller goes to the Chargers. Pierre Strong Jr. from South Dakota State goes to New England. Hassan Haskins, Tyler Algieri, literally no one else you care about until Arizona's 6th-round pick, Keonta Ingram, because that's the only person you should care about in the later rounds.
So Jerome Ford is interesting in Cleveland with them letting Dearness Johnson go. So he slides.
No, they signed him. They signed his restricted tender, didn't they?
He is everywhere I looked showed him as a free agent. So I don't know what happened there. I hope to be wrong, but when I was doing my digging.
Okay.
So it's worth looking into.
So I'm just, even in a super flex, Breece Hall is the 101, correct? Everyone can nod in agreement at that statement. Who's the 102 here? Because there's a lot of receivers that are good, I believe, in future situations. Maybe none that I don't think will make a crazy good impact in year 1. So is Kenneth Walker the 102 in rookie draft? Steve, you say no.
Oh, I thought you meant as in running backs, not in rookie drafts.
Well, obviously in running backs, but in rookie drafts. I'll talk super flex and regular. Steve, who do you think is the 102 then at that point?
If I'm taking someone at the 102, I'm going to take, and I know this might be a hot take, Chris Olave.
Yeah.
At the 102.
I mean, he has Jameis Winston as his quarterback. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, I think they've shown that Jameis is definitely getting a shot to be the guy. Jameis has in the past supported 2 top 15, 12 wide receivers.
Top 5 the one year when Evans and Godwin at the very end there. So
yeah, were they top 5 at the end? So I mean,
he just throws it so much.
I mean, Jameis is. I know he has the interception issues, but he's not exactly a slouch at the quarterback position. So
he had all the interception issues and still finished as a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, so
because he threw for over 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like Olave. Yeah. I like it. He was my number 1 wide receiver coming out of the draft. So
okay, Ryan
going into.
So it's super close for me on. I also put a wide receiver, but I'm high on Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson's my 102, and then it's Olave and London are the ones who. This is where, and Faith has brought this up numerous times the last couple of weeks. This is where team construction starts to matter for me. For me, it's Breece Hall and then Garrett Wilson, no matter what. And then it comes down to what I need. If I need wide receiver, I'm happy to grab Olave. I'm happy to grab Drake London. I think he's in a great landing spot. Even Treylon Burks. But if I need running back, if I'm a running back away from winning a championship, I'm happy past the 103 to grab Kenneth Walker.
Josh?
Kind of how I feel too. I like Kenneth Walker. I like the spot. Same thing with Breece. I think both of them are still going to be a little slow to kind of get the season started. I mean, we saw it with Jonathan Taylor too. Yes, they have veterans in front of them. Rashad Penny obviously one injury away from losing that job. But again, he's going to start the season as a starter in Seattle. I mean, he ended the season with 6.2 yards per carry on a terror of a run. They're going to give him the opportunity.
Last 5 weeks, he was the RB1 in all of fantasy
Yeah, exactly. So, Kenneth Walker's going to have an uphill battle. But again, if Rashad Penny's history is any indication, he'll be the starter before long. So
He'll be hurt.
I think he's definitely in that conversation. I would probably have him, I think probably 104, 105. I would prefer London as the wide receiver 1. I like Burks. I like Olave just from a landing spot perspective. Wilson is interesting. I'm not as high on him as many others were heading into the draft. And that Jets situation just feels weird. I know we're all kind of waiting for like Zach Wilson to take that big leap, and he might, but just him and Elijah Moore feel very redundant as wide receivers. And if this team was so high on Elijah Moore, now you bring in Garrett Wilson, I just feel like it convolutes the situation a little bit. But again, you spend a top 10 pick on a wide receiver, they're going to play it. So
you don't like the Wilson to Wilson connection in the future?
Nah.
Get excited about it, guys.
Now, the one concern I would have, and I don't imagine, especially dropping a second-round pick on a guy, that they're going to do this, but during that 5-game span, Rashad Penny handled all but 26 of the carries. So they were happy giving him every carry, but if they use him like that during the season, he'll be dead by week 5. So
he is a workhorse, but yes, his injury history is.
And we're not expecting Carson to really play anymore, right? We think that's kind of the end. That neck injury was kind of the end of.
Well, and I think that's where this pick spawned from, is that Carson's probably done.
And just came out last week. He's still not medically cleared to do anything. So
second round picks for running backs are like first round picks for receivers. Exactly. They're going to play,
right?
So, Josh, I will kick it to you because Elixirs brings up a fantastic point that we haven't talked about in a while.
Yeah,
our good buddy Elixirs.
Currently at 349 subscribers on YouTube.
All right.
Somebody click that subscribe button. Hit us on Twitter DMs at Club Fantasy FFL. Show me that you have subscribed to our YouTube page. When we hit 350, I'm giving away a signed Keenan Allen jersey. We might do it during the show. I'll give the jersey away next week. So, okay, perfect. We hit it. Yeah. Awesome. Fantastic. I don't have everything queued up.
So I'll give it away next week. I just clicked refresh and it was on.
Elixirs is out here doing the dirty work, telling people to subscribe. This guy right here. Big Young Wei Koo fan.
That's right.
Big Young Wei Koo fan.
I forgot to mention Young Wei Koo. I forgot to mention.
You should be very happy adding London and Ritter to the team. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say at 102. I would probably go London. If you are running back needy, I'm okay with Kenneth Walker. I think that's fine.
I just think if you're sitting at the top of the draft in a rookie draft, it's probably because you don't have a great team. Don't invest in running backs at that point. Invest in wide receivers. They have better long-term value.
I have Jonathan Taylor and Jamar Chase, and I'm sitting at the top of my rookie draft. So
actually, you're sitting at the third of your rookie draft.
Yeah, that's the top.
The third is where it makes perfect sense though for Joe, because Joe can reasonably expect
Lundo,
Hall, and a wide receiver to go at 1 and 2 because it's a single QB. We're talking our league, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So you can expect Hall and a wide receiver to go at 1 and 2. So it's a question for you of wide receiver or build your running back room. Now we're in a unique position where we only have to start one running back. So.
Yeah, I'm good with Jonathan Taylor every single week. Thank you.
Take Olave, Joe. Take Olave.
Not a shot in hell. If Drake London is there, I am taking Drake London.
I will
That's
say
Olave
is a guy I completely agree with, and someone very much smarter than me, Jason Wood over at Football Guys, has been commenting on the disrespect that Chris Olave has gotten since the draft process. So you are on the right side of smart, Steve. So
yeah, I'm not shitting on Chris Olave. I'm just Drake London all the way, and
you've been Drake
London
close. From day one, and
you
talked me into it. So
Drake London all the way. It's not even close.
I just worry about Drake London. Like, if you're contesting that many catches in college, doesn't that mean you're not open?
Is he catching them?
Or
I
your
don't
quarterback's
care.
Awful.
Yeah,
but every catch in the NFL is contested. So if he's catching them, it's good.
Yeah,
practice.
but like, you don't want to be like the contested catch king. So is N'Keal Harry.
I just know when I watch Drake London, I say when I watch Drake London, I get major Mike Evans vibes, and that does all sorts of naughty things to me.
I hope so, because I'd love to grab him in some drafts, but
London is so much lankier than N'Keal's much shorter than Drake London. N'Keal, I believe, is 6'1", 6'2", and Doesn't have the hops.
I'll say it was a different game that he played as well because he was more beating people with speed and straight line everything. I don't know. I like London.
I like London a lot. I'm a big fan of Drake London. So
I want to know.
Harry, I just want to point out is 6'4".
Yeah,
he does not play like he's 6'4". Let me get that right. Plays like he's
5'10". He's terrible. Don't get me wrong. He's awful. That's what I'm saying. it's
so
concerning.
For years, I have railed against the Buffalo running back situation. And obviously, Singletary proved it could be viable a little bit last year. And then for them to take a running back in the second, which is now the 3 out of the last 4 years they've taken a running back on day 2, is Cook the answer now? Like, because Joe, you immediately brought up he had 0 competition.
Yep.
So when I initially did my rankings, my hate Buffalo running backs bias immediately drug him down. Now, I do my rankings very much with draft capital baked in, so I couldn't take him too far down, but I don't love it. And I've seen him go as high as like 105 in rookie drafts already. So am I wrong? Like, you guys, please tell me I'm wrong if I am, but I don't have the right feeling.
I like James Cook. I do. There's a lot of, and I saw this comparison. I can't remember who it was from, but they were talking about kind of how Alvin Kamara was initially drafted to the Saints and that sort of additional element that he brings to an offense. You kind of see some similar things with James Cook. Now, I understand there's some size differentiation between the two. You know, I think Cook is a shade under 200, I believe.
190.
Okay, so and Kamara was about close to 215 when he came out. But just kind of the way that they bring that sort of electricity to an offense, like you can see where James Cook may touch the ball only 180 times, but can very easily rack up close to 1,000 yards. It's all just going to be a matter of, is he going to find the end zone? When you have Josh Allen as the quarterback, that's the problem because he is their touchdown running back. It's the same issue that Miles Sanders has in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. Sanders can rack up all the yards in the world, but he's not going to get in the end zone when they're close unless he breaks one for 20 plus.
Yeah, Buffalo running back scored 12 touchdowns last year, but only 7 of them inside the 5-yard line because that's Josh Allen territory.
Yeah. My concern with James Cook is that they went to go sign J.D. McKissick this offseason. He Josh McDaniels them,
That's
and
right.
then they went and drafted James Cook. So they addressed that need. That's what James Cook's going to be, in my opinion, is J.D. McKissick. So
interesting.
If you're going to draft J.D. McKissick, would you draft J.D. McKissick at the 105 with his role in Washington?
Yes.
Like if you would,
yes.
If you would, then go draft James
Well, in
Cook.
full PPR, it'd be interesting. I still think
101
there.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's what you're drafting with James Cook.
That's
like,
interesting.
Don't get the name twisted. And a lot of people are going to do that. They're like, he's a Cook. Fine. But Seth Curry isn't Steph Curry. So, like...
Seth Curry is still a top 5 3-point shooter in the NBA.
Right, but you don't want him handling the ball.
I didn't say anything about that. I'm still saying he's a top...
I don't want James Cook handling the ball.
Right, you don't want James Cook handling the ball because he's Seth Curry.
I'm just mad because if you're right about that, that means my guy Duke Johnson has no role again.
DJ? No, Duke Johnson's on the team? Oh,
yeah. He did sign there in the offseason.
Yeah, why would he stay in Miami? Why would Duke Johnson not stay in Miami where he actually looked half decent?
Well, because they had 400 running backs in Miami now, too.
So. Yeah, well, he should probably just roll the dice, right? Like,
yeah.
Go sign him.
All I can say is R.I.P. Zach Moss.
Yes.
Oh,
man.
That's where I'm at on this one.
You think he gets cut? Because they were healthy. I say they were
Michelle,
healthy scratching him towards the end of last year.
Michelle over at Ball Blast him is just ready to jump right off a cliff with Zach Moss.
Where did Zach Moss go to school? Utah?
Yes.
Right? Garbage school. Garbage school.
The only way Joe analyzes players.
Utah will go 11-0 and then get spanked in the Pac-12 championship.
And proceed
to
only put out 5th-round picks after going 11-0.
They're so bad. They're so bad. Literally, they're like, oh, Utah's a top 10 defense in all college football. 55 points in the Pac-12 championship. What the hell are we talking about here? Oh, I'm okay with James Cook. Not at the 105. that feels kind of crowded, and his touchdown upside is limited, like everyone's already talked about.
I think at best you're looking at, like, if it's a 12-team league, maybe like the 111.
I would say I think in a 12-team, the last couple picks in the first round is fine. Or a 10-team, that puts it as the first 2 picks in the second round.
Yeah.
I think that top 12, and we're talking in the digits of the top 12. I think that's okay.
What a bad draft this must be, that a top 12 pick in a dynasty league. You're like, I'll take the complimentary third down running back for the Buffalo Bills who never throw it there.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I had a 12-team one QB last year. The rookie draft took place in July, and Trey Sermon went at like the 107.
The Sermon hype lasted all the way till August.
11. Like, I mean, it's just people reach for running back. It's just what they do because they're desperate.
Yeah. And running backs tend to probably have more opportunity as of late, right? These split backfields.
It's positional scarcity as well, where there's just not as many good running backs, and you have a team that might already be stacked at wide receiver, but in dynasty, keep stacking. I've been giving Josh credit for this for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's about the lasting trade value. Yeah, they might be sitting on your bench, but that just makes them more valuable to somebody else. And you might be able to get that rookie running back that you could have taken and another piece for that during the season when someone's desperate. So
I hoard all the kickers, all of them. I just draft kickers.
That's a Linda move. That's a Linda move.
It's a power move.
We're trying to get a special teams league started. So
yes. All right. Wide receivers.
I want to throw out one quick name.
No.
Just because he fell way too far in my mock draft on Monday. Things kind of fixed itself a little bit on Tuesday. The Chargers for Isaiah Spiller is not a bad landing spot. Keep an eye on this kid. Do not let him fall out of the second round.
That is a good landing spot. I like that one too.
There's a couple of these guys in the 4th, 5th round that I thought had pretty solid landing spots. I mean, Dameon Pierce could end up being the starter in Houston. Spiller is probably going to have the Josh Kelly role.
Well, and he was at one point part of a 1ABC of these running backs, and they kind of shook themselves out a little bit. But at one point,
he ran a 4.7 or whatever it was.
Killed it. Exactly. That's what killed his value. But let's see him on the field. So
can someone tell
Tyler
me
Algier? I mean, the Falcons just released Mike Davis on Monday. So, I mean, he could very well find himself leading that backfield by day one.
Can somebody tell me where Keonta Ingram is getting drafted?
Back end of the 4th round, depending on who you're in drafts with. I'm seeing him fall to the 5th a little bit. I've seen him fall to the 4th. I think he fell to the 4th, Joe, in my draft on Monday, which had a lot of our fans, and we've kind of talked him up, where I think he was in the 5th round on the random draft I did on Tuesday. So,
Okay.
Can I throw one more name out there, too, to watch out for? Undrafted and is now signed. Just keep an eye on a guy like Jashaun Corbin out of Florida State. He went to the Giants. He signed with the Giants.
Yep.
Like, he's an explosive player, made a ton of good runs for Florida State, good hands, really could be a good compliment to Saquon Barkley.
Go Seminoles.
Go Noles.
Woo. Florida State. Best school in Florida.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Terrible.
It's the best school in Florida
Yeah,
the world ever.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Harvard
Oxford.
students look at us and are like, wow. Just amazing.
I mean, hold on. No, you're right. You're right. They do look at you and say, wow, that's 100% correct.
Harvard
Not for the
students look
reasons you're thinking, but
Harvard
they do
students
say,
look
wow.
at us and go, that's what fun looks like? Like, it's just, they don't know.
And, well, all right. No more jokes on Florida State's expense here, because, I mean, Florida writes its own jokes every single week with police reports on Florida man does this.
Right.
So,
Facts.
wide receivers. Drake London to Atlanta, Garrett Wilson to the Jets, Olave to New Orleans, Jameson Williams to Detroit, Jahan Dotson to the Commanders, Traylon Burks to Tennessee. 2nd round, Christian Watson to the Green Bay Packers, Wan'Dale Robinson, New York Jets, John Mechie, Houston.
Giants,
Sorry, thank you. What did I say? What did I say for Robinson?
The Jets.
Yeah. Sorry, I saw the New York. That's my bad. Giants. John Mechie to Houston. Tyquan Thornton for some unforsaken fucking reason to the New England Patriots. God, I didn't know who he was. I looked up Baylor and he ran a 4.28.
That's
I'm like,
the Nelson Aguilar
great.
replacement.
I'm like, great.
Just go down the field and wave.
I'm like, great. We drafted freaking Corey Coleman. Like, what the hell are we doing here? George Pickens.
That can't reach him.
George Pickens. George Pickens was on the board, ladies and gentlemen. George Pickens was on the board, and Tyquan Thornton from the Big 12 went before him.
The Patriots, you can't even start with the Patriots draft. That's a whole thing. That's a whole thing.
Shut up, Steve. Shut up, Steve.
That deserves its own show.
Steve, shut up. I'll talk about it later. Shut up. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. It's very angering being a Patriots. Here's the thing. We gear ourselves up every year. Like, this is going to be the year. This is going to happen. And then Bill trades back smartly, right? I don't think there was there a crazy need? Sure. Could we have taken Jacoby Dean or Devin Lloyd? Yeah, maybe. But trading back, that's totally fine.
Jermaine Johnson would be nice.
Not to draft a kid from Chattanooga. That's not the right move. Anyways, we'll get to that later. Alec Pierce and Sky Moore, Indy and Kansas City, respectively. And then I feel like of the rest of them, I get the injury history, but we're really gonna let Justin Ross go undrafted to Kansas City? That's really, you're telling me Justin Ross isn't worth one of your bum 7th round picks? A dude who, if not injured, was arguably the number 1 receiver going into this class if he was still healthy?
Don't forget, Bill Belichick drafted Malcolm Mitchell, who had the same knee injuries in like the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Mitchell was crucial in that win against Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
He was. He actually was. For
100%.
sure. But for Bill to then be like, I won't take that risk on.
I just can't believe nobody took
Nobody. That blew my mind. And the fact he falls to Kansas City, great. That's just the cherry on freaking top. Like, Mahomes needs another.
I say we saw it with him and Carson Strong for whatever reason, not even on day 3 were teams willing to gamble on injury. And that's what happened to Jacoby Dean.
And yet the Commanders have Carson Wentz.
That's a gamble for so many reasons.
There's so many reasons why that's terrible.
Awful.
If you're an established injury risk, you will get a team.
Yeah.
One quick guy I want to talk about. Treylon Burks, because obviously I feel like this is, of all the first-round receivers taken, this is by far the biggest move, I think. I don't really know how to put this, but I think you guys are going see where I'm getting
essentially, I think you said it on draft night. They traded Burks for A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown in a third.
Choice. So, yeah.
In a third. I don't know who that third was used on. But they essentially traded Treylon Burks for A.J. Brown and offloaded $100 million in cap space.
Yeah.
That's what they did. So,
it's
I don't know.
different than what the Vikings and Bills did a couple of years ago with the whole.
Oh, absolutely.
Stephon Diggs
100%.
turning into Justin Jefferson.
Hey, 100%. I don't know if anyone is putting Treylon Burks in the Justin Jefferson conversation.
To be fair, no one was putting Justin Jefferson in the Justin Jefferson conversation either.
Facts.
Words out of my mouth. Steve is a genius. So
that's why he writes for us, Brian.
you guys are gonna hate me. He went to LSU, and I get Arkansas is in the SEC. Justin Jefferson went to LSU, whom has produced Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Jamar Chase, in a plethora of other NFL-ready caliber players,
and shit,
especially wide receivers. Name me a fucking Arkansas player. And this is not a dog to say Treylon Burks is bad, but we look at it and say, like, that's bold. That's bold. A reminder that the Titans spent a 2nd-round pick on A.J. Brown, I believe.
Yep.
They spent a 2nd-round pick on A.J. Brown. They now go spend a 1st-round pick on Treylon Burks because A.J. Brown is now worth a 1st-round pick. You had to trade him for that first. I get you save cap space, but it's Treylon Burks, and that's your passing game. They don't have anybody else.
They got Bobby Trees.
Robert Woods.
He's not going to be there till week 13.
No, he did his injury.
He tore his ACL in the middle of the season.
He did his injury early. He'll be there for the start.
All right.
How dare you disparage Bobby Trees
I
like this.
don't even want to hear the Bobby Trees disparage. I drafted Robert Woods my wide receiver one the last 2 years. I am the biggest Robert Woods fan in this freaking
They
room.
have Austin Hooper.
They got Austin Hooper. Oh my God, their team got worse.
They need to go re-sign Delaney Walker.
That is
That's what they need to
subtraction
do.
by
They
addition.
have Nick Westbrook-Akine.
They have
Sign-
the best weapon. They have Derrick Henry, and yeah, that's it.
I get it. And look, at this point, they can stack the box with all 11 people because from what I'm hearing is Treylon Burks is the next Deebo Samuel, so he's just going to catch 1,100 passes behind the line of scrimmage. So if you stack the box with 11 guys, Tennessee's offense is irrelevant. And Ryan Tannehill can't throw the football.
I
So
was going to say, it doesn't matter who they have as wide receiver. They will wait. You can't pay $100 million to A.J. Brown and then be like, hey, by the way, Ryan Tannehill's throwing you the ball.
but if you knew
Fair.
you were going to draft a quarterback, what are you doing?
Did they? Maybe Treylon Burks was like, go get me Malik Willis. I follow Hutchinson Brown on Twitter, and he
In the
said
fifth-
Malik Willis is the QB1.
I think the move is interesting. This is not a disparage against Treylon Burks. I don't know. I don't think he fits in very well. I think easily.
Arkansas scares me. Arkansas scares me because
Yeah.
Darren McFadden was supposed to be the greatest running back of all time and was
He was.
for 2-3 plays per season
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great
yeah.
in his prime.
in his prime.
his prime that lasted one
Full circle.
drive.
Yeah, exactly. I think the fit's fine because they don't need him. They need him to do what A.J. Brown did, and he can, but lesser.
That is not a vote of confidence for me. Sorry. He can.
I mean,
he
it's
can do
100
what-
targets, it's 60 catches, depending on what his yak turns out to be, anywhere between 850 and 1,100 yards.
I get.
The question is going to be how many touchdowns. That's all.
Not many. Derrick Henry.
I mean, didn't Brown hit double digit last week or last year?
But we know that he's not A.J. Brown right now.
Yeah,
right? We all are in agreement that if we had to bet, we don't know,
Well,
but if we had to
100%.
bet,
Yeah.
he's not A.J. Brown. He's not going to throw an entire Ravens team on his back
That's a good
and
point.
carry
Walk
them
into the
into an
end
end zone.
And I guess that's the one thing is I'm looking at this too much through dynasty. I in redraft this year, I don't know that I want any pieces of him, and he's likely to be overdrafted because he and London are the only rookie wide receivers stepping in to be a 1 right off the rip. So
Are we sure Garrett
I
Wilson
was about
doesn't
to say
step
the
in
same
as a
thing.
1?
Elijah Moore still has the. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah,
huge Garrett Wilson guy, but Elijah Moore still has the hype.
My-
I'm saying
my
nobody
mind
on
went
the
right
two
to-
teams.
My
Yeah,
mind went right to Corey Davis. I don't know why I skipped over.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we weren't flirting with the idea that Corey Davis.
no.
was a wide receiver one
The
still.
Elijah Moore hype is through the roof, and I don't think Garrett Wilson hurts
That's
the
fair.
Elijah Moore hype. So
That's.
I mean, I think here's what I think we can all agree on. Jahan Dotson was the worst of the first round wide receiver picks.
probably. Yeah.
But wasn't he the last? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
I don't
he
think
was.
he went ahead of Burks.
He went ahead of Burks.
Oh, interesting. I didn't catch that.
And Houston has a great receiver in John Mechie. So congratulations, Houston.
Oh, I think that's a great pick because
Unbelievable.
he played, I think when I was looking it up, 64% of his routes from the slot in college. That's what Houston needs because you have
Yeah.
Nico Collins who can play outside. You have Brandon Cooks who can play outside. And every time I bring this up, Josh brings up that Cooks and he can then switch places, give defense fits. That's one of my favorite landing spots of the entire draft. I play
Oh,
on.
Sky Moore in KC is the home freaking run.
We'll see.
I love that fit.
I was gonna say,
Olave,
I don't
New
hate it.
Orleans.
Obviously, a lot. Yeah, the first round guys, I feel like I have no issues with any of the first round guys, even Dotson, because I feel like Dotson has a very Chris Godwin like profile, and he and McLaurin are going to play very well together. With the later round guys, I completely lost my train of thought. Well, who were we just talking about?
Oh, look,
Sky
Ryan.
Moore.
You know
Oh,
what?
Sky Moore.
Okay.
I understand. I guess I'm just going to either be very right or very wrong, and I know Joe's going to yell at me. I like Juju. I think McCole Hardman is going to step up. I think MVS is going to be great in what he can do for them. In the long run, Sky Moore is great. For next year, I don't think he does anything. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think he's 4th in that team in wide receiver targets. I think he's 5th in that team in targets when you include Kelsey.
I agree with everything you said. outside of the Juju.
Except for
is
I
good.
like Juju. No, I said
Yeah.
I like Juju.
Oh, you like Juju?
I knew
Sorry,
you
yeah.
wouldn't. I knew you
Yeah,
wouldn't.
don't
give
like
me
the
credit
Juju.
for Juju is good.
McCole Hardman is Garbo. I do think MVS does have a solid season.
Solid season. He went to the one place that he could do exactly what he does well, and that is run that direction.
And he runs a 4.29.
Right.
Dead
Patrick
straight.
Mahomes
And he also has, I believe, 6 inches on Tyreek Hill. So
yeah, Patrick Mahomes can literally just be like, run as fast as you can that way, and I'm just going to throw it to you.
yeah, every route outside of the short, quick routes that Tyreek Hill ran, MVS can run like those deep drags, post routes, seam routes. I don't know if he'll be overdrafted again. This is very early. I don't know if he'll be overdrafted. I have a feeling MVS will be underdrafted because
I think Sky Moore just did every MVS share an enormous favor for redraft because I think Sky Moore is going to take that heat moving into the season. So
Well, because you're going to have dynasty players all off season driving up his value.
Yep.
True.
I mean, I'm already seeing it. Like he's going above Dotson in rookie drafts.
Top 10 pick for sure, almost moving into the top 7 routinely at this point. So
Yeah.
Dotson went to the best place for him, though. I will say that.
I agree.
There's a
I
lot
agree
of targets
completely.
there for him.
Yep.
Opposite McLaurin, yeah.
Except for
It's not going to matter. Carson Wentz doesn't support two top receivers.
Yeah, but when Carson Wentz doesn't do that, he'll get hurt, and then Taylor Heineke will come in, and then Heineke will realize
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell.
No. I know exactly what I'm saying. You didn't let me finish my joke. Taylor Heineke will get called in to substitute teach an inner city class in Washington D.C. for mathematics, and then Sam Howell will come in, subsequently realize for all Commanders fans, wow, we really drafted this Dumbo, and then they'll bring on some weirdo from the street, and he'll be the starting quarterback.
Cam Newton.
I will say another really good value I think in rookie drafts is going to be I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but it's Velus Jones Jr. for the Bears. That's about as free a dart throw in the 4th round as you can get. Yeah. People in dynasty communities are already fading this guy because he's like a 25-year-old wide receiver.
Who cares?
But I know, and again, I get that side of it. But Justin Fields has to throw to somebody. Like they're not going to target Darnell Mooney 200 times.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You're just real quick. Isn't Cole Kmet a top 10 tight end this year? I'm sorry. Aren't we targeting Cole Kmet 150 times this season? Isn't that what's happening? Because
I also want to throw out Byron Pringle was arrested this last week, so who is now was the wide receiver 2 there. So
can I just say it's weird sometimes when people like he's 25 years old, he has no dynasty value. Like people really think like 8 years ahead for some weird reason in dynasty. They're like, well, 10 years from now, where will he be? Who gives a shit? Like go draft him and try to win in the next 2.
My personal favorite is it's 40-year-old dude saying this shit.
Right.
Let this kid live his life.
Yeah, like, I don't like hearing when people like 28 years old, he's ancient. I'm like, what do you mean I'm 28 years old? What do you mean he's ancient? Like, I feel fine.
Hey, Steve, he's 25. In 8 years, he'll be 33. I can probably list you off 5 fantasy relevant 33-year-old wide receivers right now.
Yeah.
These people really do think, though, they're like, oh, in 8 years from now, I'm like, your league probably won't exist in 8 years.
I was just saying, and
so,
they're
like,
the same people. They're
on.
the same people who say you play Dynasty in 3-year windows, which is a thing I agree with. But it's like, you play Dynasty in 3-year windows. I want him from 25 to 28.
Right.
Hold on. Even if you play in 5-year windows, he'll be 30.
Right. Isn't Keenan Allen like 31? Like, I mean, he's not like out here being like a young little dude, and he's doing fine.
Keenan Allen could be 42, and he'd still be a top 3 route runner.
Keenan Allen may never retire. Keenan Allen does one thing very well and get open in like 5-yard routes.
Yeah.
I want
David
Keenan
Bell.
Allen.
Long live Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen just turned 30, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, he
10
young.
years left. Easy.
Long
Young,
live.
easy.
15, 20.
He's on the TB12 plan.
Just really quick. So this made me very excited. So any team that has a slot receiver that plays the Jacksonville Jaguars, guys, do I have some good news for you? I was looking this up because I saw John Mechie and Ryan talked about him running out of the slot. I got excited. I'm like, okay, he'll see Kenny Moore probably twice a year, depending on if Kenny Moore wants to play against the tight end. But Houston doesn't really have a tight end to cover, so it'll most likely fall to John Mechie.
Whoa. Brevin Jordan, you ass.
They don't have a tight end to cover. Yeah, they don't have a tight end to cover. I know what I said. That'll probably fall to Mechie. Oh boy, he gets to see Darius Williams, formerly of the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Darius Williams, who had 88 tackles last season. You want to know why? Because he can't cover.
Corner.
Great fantasy corner because he can't cover. All he does is tackle. It's amazing. So he sees Darius Williams twice a year as a nickel back. Then he sees some third-round pick Elijah Molden from the Tennessee Titans. That defense was trash last year. I'm very excited for John Mechie. But let's get into, I don't even want to talk about the tight ends. Does anyone, Trey McBride went to Arizona. Does this hurt Zach Ertz at all?
No, it hurts Trey.
He just signed a 3-year deal, but look, you draft tight ends in 3-year windows.
Yeah. So exactly. It hurts Trey McBride. A lot of people talked about Jalani Woods because he's an absolute freaking beast.
Best landing spot of the group because
Indeed,
they did not get what they wanted out of Kylan Granson last year. Mo Ali Cox is a guy we've been waiting for. Woods could legitimately win that job. So
it could.
Easy. And Jack Doyle's still there, correct? But
nope,
Jack
retired.
No, he's
Jack Doyle retired. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was gonna say that would be the only hurdle for at least time on
it's
the field.
Mo Ali Cox, it's Granson, it's Jelani Woods. Like that's the tight end room right now.
So Jelani Woods is winning that job. That's not even a question.
I was gonna say Granson. They liked what was the kid's name that came over there from Philly? Josh Trey, the tight end. That
the 4-year
Burton.
Trey Burton.
R.I.P. to Trey Burton.
I say Kylan Granson fit a very Trey Burton role, which fits their offense. So it'll be interesting to see if he actually gets to play as a second-year player, but he did not play.
Imagine shelling out as much money as they did for Trey Burton because he threw a touchdown to a wide-open Nick Foles.
100%. And then immediately drafting the guy who reminded you of him.
But Steve, it was a great pass.
It was.
You know what? I got to tell you, if I have to run a very convoluted trick play where my tight end throws a pass to my backup quarterback, I want Trey Burton doing such a thing.
Now I'm not saying that every one of us here could have also completed that exact same pass because there was nobody in the vicinity of Nick Foles. But what I am saying is not all of us could get a statue outside of Lincoln Financial Field is what I'm really getting
Eagles fans really do the most sometimes. I'll just say that.
Yeah. We live with one.
We have a statue of a fictional character in the city. Like that's how desperate Philadelphia is.
It's Rocky, right? You guys have Rocky like as a statue.
You have a statue of a backup quarterback, a perennial backup quarterback.
Catching a pass.
Nick Foles is basically a fictional character.
Literally, when you think about it. If people wrote books in the future, they'd be like, "Who's this Nick Foles guy? He doesn't seem real."
Nick Foles was the most confusing career I've ever seen in my entire life in football. He looks all world, and then he once he's named the starter, something happens
Steve
to
gets
Nick
it.
Foles that he
Steve,
can't handle
you get it. Oh my God,
Chicago,
you get it.
Chicago just released him for Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
So, when you get it, when he comes in
no
relief
pressure.
and there's no pressure, he is Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Joe Montana. And the same Colt McCoy, the first game Colt McCoy starts every year and teams don't have time to prepare for him. Jesus, he is Texas Colt McCoy. The second game, garbage. He's awful. Yeah. Oh, Steve gets it. I love that.
Steve has been impressive.
Yes. Really quick, before we get into elevator pitches on biggest winners and losers here, Ryan, give me the Nick Foles comparison to a Star Wars character. Go.
Oh.
I was trying to think of someone that was like irrelevant, but like popped up for
that general that yells it's a trap.
Admiral Akbar.
Strong relief.
Admiral Akbar.
It's Jar Jar Binks. Come on now.
I say no. C-3PO. C-3PO is worthless until you don't expect him to do anything.
That's a good one.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Can't carry a movie, but definitely a good supporting player.
Yeah, he's just there to translate for our
Watch. You say he can't carry a movie. I guarantee you within the next 3 years, Disney makes a C-3PO specific series.
I would have called you crazy. I would have called you crazy at saying that, but I believe there's a Buzz Lightyear origin story.
Dude, don't even get me started. Buzz Lightyear is the main character of Toy Story.
I just love that we're talking about
an
origin story for a plastic figurine.
Like a real origin story.
Yes.
We saw his origin story.
Like we get Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear, it's the whole thing.
Came to life.
No, Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, it's not Buzz Lightyear either, right? It's Lightyear. Yeah. It's
Commander
like a really
of the stars.
movie. Like it's very strange.
I am saluting our fierce Buzz Lightyear.
I
will not sit here with this Buzz Lightyear slander
It's
happening
not slander.
on this.
It was an unexpected
It
twist
is
in my life.
Slander.
It's just a plot twist in my life that I didn't really expect.
You definitely didn't see coming.
Like
Nick
absolute slander. Okay,
I
Steve.
didn't need the Dark Knight for Buzz Lightyear.
Steve, I need, and if you want to make these comedic, please go for it. But I need a 1 to 2 sentence why each of these guys was a winner for you. Go.
All right, J.K. Dobbins, they didn't bring in a new running back. That only bodes well for him. James Conner, same thing. He's clearly the guy in Arizona. They jettisoned Chase Edmonds in favor of him. Breece Hall, he went to an offense that is totally invested in winning right now and putting up stupid amounts of points. Love that. Jameis Winston, they got him Chris Olave, along with Michael Thomas coming back. You got to love it with a healthy Alvin Kamara. Jalen Hurts, they traded for his best friend, A.J. Brown, and you love to see best friends play together because that means targets. So there you go.
Ryan.
Rashad Bateman. Essentially, there are only 2 established pass catchers in Baltimore. Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. He's going to be great at wide receiver. Michael Pittman, basically the same sort of thing. I like Alec Pierce a lot. He is a perfect wide receiver too, which means Pittman stays in a 1 role instead of a 1A role. And then the entire Jets fan base organization, you got the best running back, you got the best wide receiver, you got the best corner, you got a top 5 pass rusher, top 3 tight end, and added things all over the place. The Jets did what fantasy managers have been asking NFL teams to do. They won the draft.
Josh.
I mean, the Eagles knocked it out of the park. The one thing on defense they struggled with was stopping the run. They had the biggest defensive tackle in the draft and the steal of the draft in Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round. Plus, you bring in A.J. Brown. The Eagles have not had a 1,000-yard receiver since Jeremy Maclin. Yes, that is dating themselves. You bring in A.J. Brown, you have fixed that area of the offense right now. Absolutely love all of that. Hollywood Brown getting a fresh start. DeAndre Hopkins being suspended. He's playing with his old college quarterback in Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are going to throw a lot more than the Ravens did. So I love that bump in his fantasy value. And Darnell Mooney. The Bears didn't bring in anybody until the 3rd round. We talked about Velas, however you pronounce his first name. Darnell Mooney's going to see the most targets on this team, and that is going to be fantasy awesomeness right there.
Darnell freaking Mooney, the wide receiver one.
Freaking moon.
Oh, I love Darnell Mooney. Okay. Devonta Smith, he now has someone to take away coverage from him. Yeah. And will now be running one-on-one as one of the smoothest route runners in the NFL. I like that. The Sun God, he has someone opposite him now to take away coverage. Jamison Williams will take away coverage from him. I think ARSB is really good. I'm not saying Jared Goff is the answer to the world, but I do think Detroit's going to play from behind a lot, which will subsequently equal a lot of passing attempts, which then equals Amon-Ra St. Brown finding the end zone. Terry McLaurin, maybe? I kind of put this as a question mark. I don't know how good Jahan Dotson is, but it's a first-round receiver that someone else has to pay attention to.
Yeah, so you picked wide receivers of some very questionable quarterbacks.
Oh, don't you worry. I know what I did. And then my last one, Keonta Ingram. Yes, he's a 6th-round pick. His competition is Eno Benjamin for the running back 2, and James Conner has an injury history. Granted, not last year, but he has an injury history. There's openness for Keonta Ingram. Yes. And I'm a big fan of Keonta Ingram. So, biggest losers, Steve. Actually, don't talk about your top one because I want to take that one. Go to your second one.
All right, I'll skip it. All right, Marcus Mariota, they were drafted his replacement immediately, and they drafted someone who's better than him. Marcus Mariota is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, and he never has been. Yeah. And Lamar Jackson, they traded his best friend got traded away. Yeah. They didn't replace him, and they've basically botched this offseason where teams were stacking around their young quarterbacks on their rookie deals. The Ravens did not do that, and now Lamar Jackson's going to have to get paid. Yeah. So we're either going to – I'm telling you right now, do not be shocked when Lamar Jackson is traded next season.
Whoo.
I wouldn't be. Lamar Jackson's representing himself in contract
Technically,
talks.
he's not under contract next season.
Yeah. He's representing himself.
The only
in
way that they
contract
would
talks.
trade him is if he actually signs his franchise tag.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd have to sign
they-
the franchise tender.
And he won't. Ryan,
We're going to start with Justin Fields for basically everything we've been talking about this show. While we don't hate Velus Jones, he still wasn't a real wide receiver. So now we have Darnell Mooney, who is good, but he's not going to carry this team. And then nobody else outside of David Montgomery. They really, if you want to build a franchise around this kid, you needed to get him weapons, and they did him zero favors. Rashad Penny and Michael Carter for everything we talked about earlier. Rashad Penny had a chance to be just an elite running back. They go out and get Kenneth Walker, one of the best. Michael Carter, I'm not going to ever say he was coming close to elite, but I really wanted to see him with volume, and now we're never going to see that. Just kind of sucks for both of them. And then the Seahawks wide receivers, because they just didn't even try, and now we have Drew Lock. So rest in peace to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Sorry, buddies.
tough. Josh,
DeAndre Hopkins was my number one on this one. I mentioned it on Twitter a couple days ago. He's on the last year of his deal. He's coming up, I believe he's already over the 30. And now he's facing a 6-game suspension, which, Brian, I know we talked earlier in the show that he probably won't see all 6 games. But that's going to give more time for Kyler and Hollywood Brown to get reacclimated. And then DeAndre comes back. DeAndre's going to take coverage, and Kyler's just going to keep looking at Hollywood. I think you're looking at another statistically bad season for DeAndre Hopkins, and that's not going to bode well for him heading into free agency in the fall. Mitchell Trubisky, again, they drafted Mitchell Trubisky 2.0. So there's no real reason for the Steelers to be like, all right, we're just going to trot you out here for a full season, even though we signed you to a 2-year deal. I just don't see it for him. We'll see what happens. Just keep Deontay Johnson. Just keep throwing him the football. That's all I care about. Josh Jacobs, this is a real interesting one for me. They declined his 5th-year option. Then they drafted Zamir White. Again, it's a 4th-round pick, so you take that for what you will. But that just tells me that I like Josh Jacobs for this year. But going forward, 2023 and beyond, I don't know where the future lies for him. It could maybe potentially be in Las Vegas. Maybe Zamir White was the insurance policy for Kenyon Drake, who's coming back from an injury and is on the last year of his deal as well. Yeah. So, there's a lot of balls in the air, so to speak, in that Las Vegas running back room.
okay. Sam Howell, just cause. Ryan Tannehill, I mean, you got rid of his weapon.
And then drafted his replacement.
Like, sorry, bye.
Rough weekend.
Yeah, see ya. Michael Carter, as Ryan already said, and the Patriots. Where do we start, guys? Where do we start? Do we start with the fact that everyone's saying their best draft pick was a 4th-round quarterback? Is that where we start?
Who's not even going to play?
Who's not even going to play because they already drafted their quarterback of the future last year?
Is he the quarterback of the future, though?
100%, not even a question.
He's bad.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Because he's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. But
no, he's not.
It's weird.
No,
He's seen a playoff game
and
he was blown out like
go.
Lamar Jackson was in his first playoff game.
So essentially, that's the same quarterback.
But he also didn't fumble 5 times in his first playoff game like Lamar Jackson did. So he has that going for him. Cole Strange, I'm just convincing myself this dude's good because he has a bar in the middle of his helmet.
Yep.
Absolute madman.
He's gonna fuck shit up.
That's yeah. I don't know. I really it makes me mad.
There's that video going around the internet of like someone's 3rd-round pick just totally blowing through Cole Strange.
Yes.
Yes. The Ravens 3rd-round pick at the Senior Bowl. Yeah, blew up Cole Strange on multiple plays.
Yeah.
What I'm getting is that he's not a very good pass blocker. He's a much better run blocker than he is pass blocking.
And they're going to run a lot.
And they're going to run a lot.
They're going to replicate that Buffalo game every damn day. That's what they're going for.
Dude, if they could shove their metaphorical wieners down Buffalo's throat like that every single game, oh my God, I would love it. I would love it. Tyquan Thornton, God, that's a bust. Marcus Jones, he's 5'8". I mean, I guess it's a DB. Congratulations. Your starting lineup is Jalen Mills, Marcus Jones, Malcolm Butler, and Jack Jones. This secondary fucking blows. Pierre Strong? I don't know. Is that the replacement to James White? Apparently he can pass catch, so that's good. Bayley Zapp, congratulations. Western Kentucky, we drafted the greatest quarterback no one's ever heard of.
62 touchdowns.
This was the perfect Bill Belichick draft.
Yeah.
The perfect Bill Belichick draft.
If these guys hit, we never can question him again.
I will continue to question every single pick he has in the future. Now, my only hope with these cornerbacks is he didn't take them in the second round, which historically, Bill Belichick's second-round cornerbacks have been awful. Cyrus Jones, there was I can't remember the kid. He was from Rutgers. He was awful. Last 2 seasons on the team.
To be fair, that's because he just loves Rutgers because he got like McCourty out of Rutgers.
Yeah.
So.
He absolutely loves Rutgers.
Bill Belichick just makes friends in college football and goes, I'll draft your guy.
He
so
does
your
what you
recruiting
do,
goes
Joe.
better.
But
yeah,
I'm sorry. Where's my Alabama player? Can I ask that question? Where's my Alabama player?
Yeah.
He's not on here. I don't
statement.
see an Alabama player. I don't know. It's angering. But yes, he did draft that kid. But safeties, he's fantastic. He drafted Kyle Duggar in the second round 2 years ago. He's from Lenore Rhine, a Division II school. He hit on Kyle Duggar. I don't know. I don't like Bill Belichick for this reason and this reason only. The 3 days of the NFL draft. Angering.
I think the days of Belichick being an elite GM are over.
They were never really there.
They were never
for the
there.
last,
Tom Brady was an elite player and
Yeah.
made Bill Belichick look. You know what? I said it and I've said it. Bill Belichick, like Brady made Belichick more than Belichick made Brady.
It's even, but Belichick's GM stuff gets overhyped. Belichick as a coach, unquestioned, best of all time.
I would say yes, because one thing we're not considering is how much of the Belichick tree has went out, and not necessarily been great head coaches, but been solid head coaches, not to mention what Vrabel's doing right now. So,
But Vrabel didn't coach under Belichick.
no, he worked under Belichick.
Worked under Belichick.
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo's getting head coaching looks. Brian Flores
Yes.
was fired for some dumb reason.
Racism.
Let's erase Bill O'Brien and Josh McDaniels out of everyone's head because they're
And
both,
Matt Patricia.
Oh, dude, that was the dumbest head coaches. He did not deserve a head coaching job. He did not deserve a head coaching job. And also,
Charlie Weiss.
Weiss
See,
is
but
terrible.
Weiss had some success in college. Like, he's not an awful head coach. He wasn't a great professional head coach. So
He got 10 wins out of Cam Newton. What more do you want? He took multiple last place defenses to the Super Bowl. Granted,
Yeah.
Brady was on the other side. He still took a last place defense to multiple Super Bowls. It made them play okay. And sorry, that's all Belichick. Those defenses, that's all Belichick. And the egotistical Malcolm Butler sit against the Eagles, I will never forgive him for. But
That was
neither here
100%
nor there.
Belichick's fault. That was
Oh,
Belichick.
no, that's
Yeah.
Belichick.
That's Belichick.
That's 100% Belichick. And also
Belichick's
the
the guy
comeback.
who didn't want Tom Brady to sign a 3-year deal because he might get too old.
The
3
comeback.
years ago.
The comeback in the decision against the Seahawks and the comeback against the Falcons.
Well, and I also think the Brady thing was the forcing the trade of Jimmy Garoppolo and just kind of undermining the GM part of it. So,
And also, we won the Garoppolo trade very clearly because he's now getting replaced by a Division I AA quarterback. So, go North Dakota State, LFG Bison, Jimmy Garoppolo, you're terrible. Anybody else have anything good to say about the show?
Like your haircut.
Thanks, man. I got a haircut like 2 weeks ago, so I appreciate that.
I just enjoy when we have guests who will fight with us. So Steve did an excellent job.
Yeah,
and I
this is
appreciate
great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely was not afraid to speak up, and we love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely electric.
I had to come and bring it. Like, if I'm going to be here, I have to, like, show up.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Trust me. People get very timid when I start yelling at them.
Yeah.
So,
You didn't back off.
Yeah.
Joe's a prick.
I think I said that twice on the show
did.
about myself.
I
Yeah.
said it
As
twice,
far
too.
as I'm aware, no one's been able to punch me through a computer yet. So I just,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm safe.
It's fair.
I just anger people for some
It's
reason.
everything wrong with society, but it's fair.
I just anger people, and then they come back on the show 6 months later, and I remind them of what I told them, that they were wrong and I was right, and then they get angry.
Joe doesn't remember everything.
And they go, that's why I haven't been on in 6 months.
Yeah.
Ryan, here's the thing. Most of the time when guests come back on, what we were arguing about, I was right.
Yeah, you're right.
And
I'm just saying, you've said it best because you put nothing in print. It is very hard to remember when you were wrong.
I'm smart. It's a high IQ move right there.
Okay.
Next week, my favorite show. Just a reminder, I finished higher than Ryan in the 4i championship last year, so repping club fantasy there. We will do our annual IDP show. Ryan heads into the host chair, and Josh takes a week off while myself and the graphic design king, Nate Markham, joins us from Fantasy and Frames. Introduce our audience to the idea of playing IDP, which is individual defensive players, into your fantasy lineup. Highly recommend. Makes the game way more fun. And if you like high-scoring games, wink, wink, it gives you more fantasy points than a team defense does. Literally, one sack will give you more than the best defense that entire week in most weeks.
I still don't allow bad-mouthing team defense.
I'm not bad-mouthing team defense. I'm just saying it's pointless and you should play IDP. That's all I'm saying.
That's it.
That's all I'm saying.
He's not saying you're wrong. He's just saying you're stupid, and that your opinion means nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And how could that be how could that be misinterpreted?
Sorry, I don't know what I was saying.
Yeah, Ryan, you idiot. Jeez. Get smarter. God. Oh, I'm very excited. That's one of my favorite shows. Nate will be on. I hope.
Hey, I'm just happy I don't have to do a show sheet for a change. Joe, that's on you, buddy.
Ryan's the host. I thought Ryan was.
I was gonna say I was gonna volunteer to do it. I was saving it for off the air. So.
Damn it!
I have a lot of work to do.
Joe, I knew you were
job.
gonna say that, so that's why I was there for you on this.
This guy right here. This guy, teammate of the year. Teammate of the year.
In the immortal words of the greatest Canadian ever, everything I do it for you, Joe.
We love Brian Adams at Club Fantasy.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I don't remember Ryan Reynolds ever saying that line.
First of all, he probably did. I guarantee he sang it every day when he was 16 years old.
Probably.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought you were gonna quote Deadpool for a second or any Ryan Reynolds movie.
Joe.
Don't even listen.
My mind went to like Celine Dion.
I do want to throw out for those who aren't following Nate Markham. Follow Nate Markham. I believe it is Nate_Markham. Number one rated. It might be then. Number one rated IDP ranker for Fantasy Pros, and you get to listen to him speak for an hour next week.
Not even that good.
Just at Nate Markham.
At Nate Markham, no underscore.
No
Follow the guy.
Not even that good. He's only number one. Couldn't even make it to 0. Not even that good.
Not even that good.
Not even that good. All right. Anything else, gentlemen, before we wrap?
No, I think that's it.
Wow.
I'm good with it.
You guys enjoy next week's show without me.
Yes.
Oh, the energy in this room is absolutely electric. It's even going to be more electric when it's kind of like addition by subtraction next week, which is going to be great. No, we will miss Josh next week, but super excited for the IDP show. Steve, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Steve, it's been a blast, man.
This was a lot of fun. Follow Steve at FF by Committee. For those that don't know how to spell committee or struggle with it like I do, that is COMMITTEE. Everything you think should have a double letter probably does in the word committee. It messes with me.
It's like Mississippi.
Yeah, and spell check almost always tells me I spell committee wrong, so that's how I remember it. For the One Hudsonian, FF by Committee, Fantasy 5 and myself at Joe_Zolo. You can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you next week for our annual IDP show where Josh takes a week off, goes on vacation, does something. Who knows? Ryan and I will be on the show with Nate Markham next week. We will see you then. That was a terrible sign-off, so I'm going to do this. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. May the 4th be with you. Lando Calrissian, Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, Troy from Community. We all love everything Donald Glover has ever done. We will see you next week.